I can't be with someone who neglects their household duties.
Suddenly appearing in the room, Ethan spoke with such coldness and gazed at me with a faint smile.
I knew from the start that I couldn't rely on you. That's why you should start preparing dinner soon.
With eyes filled with rage, Ethan did the unthinkable. He ruthlessly kicked my pregnant belly. Shocked, I fell to the floor from the chair I was sitting on, tablet in hand. I instinctively protected my belly, but the shock of the fall resonated painfully throughout my body. Unable to scream because of the pain, I was desperately trying to shield my stomach. Yet my husband kept on kicking me, yelling, "Move." Then, a voice from afar scolded Ethan. How should I face this husband in the days to come? My name is Hannah, 29 years old. I share a deep bond with my husband, Ethan, who is 3 years my senior, and currently, we live together. Our life as a couple will soon be a life as a trio. Inside me grows a new life, and I'm currently in my 9th month of pregnancy. Expecting our first child, I was filled with anxieties and questions. I've been constantly flipping through maternity magazines, seeking advice on how to have a stable pregnancy. People around me would say, "Don't be so nervous," but I couldn't let my guard down. I've been searching daily for new information on risks during this stage of pregnancy, best practices, and dietary advice. Morning sickness scenes are often depicted in dramas and movies. Experiencing it firsthand, I was simply astonished by its severity. Furthermore, I've been reflecting deeply on the fears of childbirth and my impending role as a mother. Still, with the desire to safely deliver my child, I've been eagerly awaiting the day of birth. However, amidst all this, a single element of concern arose: the recent behavior of my beloved husband, Ethan. When I announced my pregnancy, he was genuinely thrilled, exclaiming, "This is incredible." I was certain that marrying him would build a happy family life. I believed our life as a trio, including our soon-to-be-born child, would be filled with mutual support and love. Yet, as my pregnancy progressed and my body changed, experiencing discomfort and daily morning sickness, the once gentle and caring Ethan seemed to be slowly changing. Even though I came home tired,
Why is the room dark? Can't you even turn on a light for me?
I'm truly sorry. I felt faint today due to anemia and couldn't move much.
Now that you mention it, the room isn't cleaned and dinner isn't ready either. You've been slacking off again, haven't you?
I apologize. I tried calling you to ask if you could grab something to eat outside or pick something up but couldn't reach you.
Of course I couldn't. I can't answer the phone while I'm working outside. What are we going to do for dinner tonight?
His anger reached its peak, and he started handling things around him roughly. I think there are some hamburgers and dumplings in the freezer that I made earlier. Interrupting me, he shouted,
Are you trying to push even more work onto me after I've come home?
For the starving Ethan, filling his stomach seemed to be his top priority. He showed no concern for my health. Frustrated, he left the room and went outside. After a while, he came back with food just for himself. He ate it, left his dishes, drank several drinks, and then headed to the bedroom. While enduring his behavior, I gathered my strength and tried to nourish the baby growing inside me. Tears streamed down my face. The ideal family picture I had envisioned just a few days ago started to shake rapidly. I was lost on how to cope with this shifting reality. Ethan and I cultivated our love in a workplace romance that many envied. We were affiliated with a renowned multinational company called Smith Company. Ethan held a trusted position as a marketing specialist. While I mainly worked as an executive assistant, I also handled some accounting tasks. One day, while I was busy with accounting, Ethan brought some documents from his department. That seemed to catch his eye. That became the starting point of his intense feelings towards me, and he began approaching me ardently. At first, I was surprised at his eagerness. However, as I saw how he led his subordinates and his sincerity, I was drawn to him. Our early dating days were truly wonderful, and Ethan was everything I had ever wanted in a man. I started to wonder if I put in more effort, could I make Ethan's heart warm to me again? Even though my body felt its limits many times, I tried to get up earlier. I tried to ensure more flexibility in my daily activities. I've been managing some remote work. Even if it's remote work, there's a responsibility to properly tackle tasks and produce results. Amidst this, I decided to approach my work with the mindset that I can do it. In reality, instead of formally taking maternity leave, I proposed working from home to my workplace, which my bosses agreed to. Secretarial tasks, especially scheduled checks and communication with higher-ups, were feasible at home with current technology. Thinking about the future, I strongly felt the need to save a portion of my earnings for our upcoming family. To get a grasp on this new life rhythm, I made daily adjustments. I would wake up early to swiftly prepare breakfast before Ethan went to work. For lunch, since Ethan regularly used the company cafeteria, preparing a lunchbox was unnecessary. After he left and before he returned was my free time. I used that window too, while taking breaks when tired, to balance work and household chores. Yet, despite all my sincere efforts, there seemed to be no change in Ethan's attitude. If anything, as days passed, I felt his coldness only grow. One weekend morning, I wasn't feeling well. Although the alarm echoed throughout the room, I couldn't respond. When I managed to open my eyes, I realized it was way past Ethan's wake-up time.
Hey, why are you still sleeping? I have a golf appointment with a client today. There's no breakfast ready. What's going on?
Oh right, he had told me about it several times. I'm sorry, I feel really sluggish today. Finding words was hard, and that was the only response I could muster. At that moment, Ethan exploded with anger.
It's unbelievable that you've prepared nothing and just slept. I can't believe this.
He kicked the bed hard. Startled by his angry voice and sudden action, I inadvertently blurted out, "But usually, I do everything properly. I just feel off today."
What are you talking about? It's a given that you handle the household chores. It's only natural to work diligently every day.
His anger peaked, and he started throwing things around violently. The room was filled with the sound of things flying and glass breaking. "I'm truly sorry. Please don't be any angrier." Fearing his intense behavior, I kept apologizing with a quiver in my voice. From then on, our communication became almost non-existent. Whenever it seemed like Ethan was irritated, I made sure to keep my distance and would just apologize if spoken to. This became our daily routine. I hadn't specifically made a mistake, and I felt the situation was unjust. Amid this tension, my anxiety grew about whether I could safely give birth and welcome a new life. I considered going to my parents' house to give birth, but I still faintly hoped that Ethan might revert to his affectionate self when the baby was born. Remembering the day he joyfully received the pregnancy news, I lived believing in a ray of hope for the future. A few hours after Ethan left the house, I slowly lifted my body from the bed and started cleaning the room. Among the items was a framed photo from our early dating days. In Ethan's anger, he had thrown it to the floor, shattering the glass. Seeing this, I felt that mending our relationship might now be impossible, and I couldn't stop crying. At that moment, the house doorbell rang. Surprised, I checked the clock. It was just past 10:30 am. Who could it be? It was unlikely for Ethan to return at this time. Wiping my tears, I decided to greet the unexpected visitor. As I approached the door, a warm voice responded.
"Hannah, it's me, Lisa. Sorry for the unexpected visit."
Recognizing the visitor's name, I promptly opened the door. "Lisa, what brings you here at this hour?" My appearance likely revealed my distress. Observing me closely, she inquired,
"Hannah, you look pale. Are you okay? What happened?"
Overwhelmed by Lisa's kindness and the comfort of her presence, tears started flowing again. Lisa is the wife of the CEO of Smith Company, where Ethan and I work. She had a deep connection with my grandfather and thus had been close to me. She didn't have her children, and so she always cared for me as if I were her daughter. Before my pregnancy, I was learning floral arrangements at her house. Lisa was once renowned in the flower arranging world and taught me her techniques through our shared hobby. It was rare for Lisa to visit our home. Seeing the messy room, she seemed to quickly sense the severity of the situation.
"Did you discuss Ethan's behavior with my husband?"
Not yet. I've been reflecting on whether I've failed to meet Ethan's expectations.
"I don't have experience with child rearing, but I'm genuinely concerned about you during your pregnancy. I can't fathom his actions."
With those warm words, I felt a sense of relief and could sense Lisa's growing anger. She continued,
"If he behaves like this at home, he might be acting similarly at work. It might be in his nature to lose interest in things he's achieved."
She listened intently to my story, tidied the messy room, and made a comforting egg soup for me. She brought nutritious foods and various fresh fruits, thinking of me and the baby.
"If anything happens, contact me anytime. I'll come to help right away."
Thank you for saying that. I deeply appreciate your kindness, Lisa. Lisa left with a warm smile. Watching her leave from my porch, I felt profound gratitude for her kindness and generosity. Her kindness seized my heart a bit, and the food she brought helped restore my energy. One weekend morning, Ethan had been out drinking late into the night and was still in a deep sleep despite the late hour. I took this time to prepare for the morning and waited important messages from work. While waiting, I continued my remote work. After a remote meeting and a brief break with colleagues, my room door was abruptly thrown open. Shocked, I looked towards the door to see an irritated Ethan.
Who are you talking to while I'm resting? You seem so happy. Are you hiding something? I can't stand it.
I was taken aback by his words.
You can't even fulfill your role at home. I don't intend to live with someone like a slave.
In my astonishment, I stared at Ethan's face. He looked utterly displeased, and there was an angry fire in his eyes. His image was burned into my consciousness. The conversation earlier was about work. I'm not hiding anything. I tried to explain to convince him, but
Don't try to fool me with such excuses. Prepare the meal quickly.
I could strongly feel his anger directed at me and felt my heart rate increasing. Then he knocked over the chair I was sitting on. I involuntarily shouted, "Ah!" losing my balance and falling to the floor. The tablet in my hand also fell, echoing a loud noise throughout the room. I curled up to protect myself, especially my stomach. As the pain spread throughout my body, I heard Ethan's continuing outbursts.
Still want to talk back?
Saying so, he kicked my stomach. "Please stop." Trembling on the spot, I pleaded desperately. Ethan's shouts echoed throughout the room when someone else shouted.
What are you doing, Ethan? What are you doing to Hannah?
I noticed Mr. Scott displayed on the screen of the dropped tablet. Ethan was looking around the room suspiciously, trying to locate the source of the voice.
What's this voice?
Although it was hard to speak from the shock and pain, I managed to say, "Please, call an ambulance." He stared at me coldly and said,
What's this drama? Seeking help won't work with me.
From the tablet, Scott's firm voice echoed with anger.
What kind of man are you? Call an ambulance right now. What are you thinking?
Whose voice is this? I don't know you, old man.
Upon discovering the tablet, he looked surprised. On its screen were the stern eyes of Mr. Tanner and an unfamiliar, serious face of Scott.
I'll arrange for an ambulance now. Ethan,
At Mr. Tanner?
you can't hide the truth. I've heard everything.
No, this is just a marital spat, love turned inside out. Haha.
At Ethan's ridiculous excuse, Scott showed even more anger.
What kind of love behaves like this? Especially towards my grandchild. Unbelievable.
Who are you?
To Ethan's words, Mr. Tanner calmly disclosed the truth.
Ethan, don't you know? This man here is Mr. Scott Smith, the chairman of our Smith Company, and Hannah is his precious granddaughter. That's the reality.
Ethan was at a loss for words. Astonishment was evident on his face. The sudden appearance of Scott Smith was entirely unknown to Ethan. There was a unique story behind my family's background. My father had been passionately chasing his dreams since his youth, and chose not to follow the family business, Smith Company, to realize it. My grandfather, Scott Smith, rarely showed himself to the general employees after taking his position as chairman. Due to his low profile, only a select few high-ranking individuals and long-term business partners knew of him. Additionally, as the Smith Company was named in English, Ethan never questioned my maiden name, Smith. I had been considering the right time to reveal this family secret to Ethan. I had been pondering when to introduce Ethan to my grandfather, the chairman, for the first time, but I never expected it would be under such circumstances. Ethan was clearly shocked by this unexpected revelation. However, that shock was soon replaced by stern words from my grandfather and Mr. Tanner, leaving him standing still in disbelief.
We'll need to seriously reconsider and reevaluate your position going forward.
Wait a minute, Mr. Tanner. It was really just an act of love. I just played too much.
But his words were drowned out by the approaching sound of sirens. It seemed the ambulance Mr. Tanner had arranged arrived. By then, Lisa had also rushed to the scene. Pushing Ethan forcefully aside as she saw me in pain on the stretcher, she exclaimed,
Get out of the way right now. There's immense danger to Hannah and the future baby. I can't forgive someone like you.
After shouting in anger, Lisa turned to Mr. Tanner and my grandfather, saying,
I will accompany her to the hospital.
She then gently held my hand and got into the ambulance with me. As I was fading out of consciousness, I heard Lisa's reassuring voice.
It's going to be okay, Hannah.
Comforted by her voice, I passed out. After an indeterminable amount of time, I eventually opened my eyes to a bright light. Where is this room? I slowly opened my eyes, squinting at the white ceiling lights, and scanned the room. The windows were covered with soft green curtains, evoking a sense of comfort. Then, a voice came from behind.
Hannah, you're finally awake. I was so worried.
Lisa's voice was a mix of gratitude and relief. She pressed the nurse call button to summon a nurse. Beside her stood my grandfather.
Hannah, it's heartening to see you awake. The doctor told me the baby is also safe and sound.
Grandfather and Lisa. As clarity returned to my mind, I vividly remembered the harrowing events with Ethan. My baby, I'm glad you're safe. Relief washed over me and tears flowed.
You must have been through a lot, but you endured and did well.
Did I do something wrong? My voice was soft, laced with palpable anxiety.
Hannah, it's not your fault. None of this was because of you.
Her comforting words were followed by my grandfather's, although he was filled with anger.
I cannot forgive that insolent man for what he did to my precious granddaughter.
For now, just calm down and rest. Focus on your health and the baby's well-being.
Soothed by the comforting words of my family, I drifted into a deep sleep. I later found out that I slept continuously for 3 days. The doctor said both the baby and I were healthy, but recommended a week of hospitalization for further monitoring. During that period, I never saw Ethan, my husband. I was filled with anger and disappointment, thinking of how he, the supposed pillar of support, wasn't there for me during such crucial times. Lisa, who visited me almost every day, made a suggestion.
Returning to your current home might be risky. How about staying at my place where you can feel safe?
She invited me to her home out of concern. My parents lived quite far from the city, and given my recent physical and mental instability, I was advised against returning to my hometown. Thus, I considered staying at my grandfather's, but since my grandmother passed away, it had been a male-dominated household. I opted to stay at Lisa's residence, which was closer to the city, convenient, and deemed beneficial for resolving issues with Ethan. A few days after I began staying at Lisa's house, Mr. Turner brought me astonishing information. The night I first confided in Lisa about Ethan's true nature, she consulted with Mr. Turner, asking him to keep an eye on Ethan's behavior. In response, Mr. Turner instructed Ethan's immediate superior and colleagues to report on Ethan's daily activities and attitude.
So, Hannah, we've been acting from the very beginning. You had nothing to worry about.
I was speechless with surprise upon hearing this. After I was rushed to the hospital, Ethan hadn't reached out to me even once. According to colleagues of Ethan's age, he always had a very high pride and tended to look down on others, especially towards his subordinates. He appeared to be quite domineering. The way he spoke when ordering subordinates around and his response to their mistakes indicated serious flaws in his character. He had approached me, leveraging the fact that I was well regarded in the company at the time. There were also stories that after marriage, he intended to use me for his convenience. Realizing I had been utterly deceived by his cunning scheme, I felt a deep sense of regret and saw the illusion of love I believed in shatter.
People like him just use what they can get and don't hold any other emotions. He's the type who doesn't feed a fish once it's caught.
Lisa's face showed deep anger mixed with a hint of pity.
I had doubts about his behavior in the company, but I was also concerned about what he might be doing outside. I wonder how many people he has deceived.
I hate to think about it, but there might be deeper problems hiding behind him. It might be a good idea to investigate thoroughly.
Wait a moment.
She said, patting my shoulder gently before disappearing into the back of the room. When she returned, she handed me a card. What's this business card for?
The man who owns this card is a trustworthy lawyer. If you explain your situation to him, he'll certainly be supportive and advise you sincerely.
I took the card and checked the lawyer's name on it. According to Lisa, my grandfather held this lawyer in high regard as a competent professional and had arranged it especially for me.
The chairman told us that if anything troublesome happened to you, he wanted us to fully support you.
I see. I truly appreciate my grandfather's thoughtfulness. My grandfather always prioritized his work above all else. This principle of his was reflected in his attitude of putting work and business commitments before family. From my childhood, I felt a special bond with him and spent a lot of time by his side. During my student days, witnessing his dedication and strictness to his work, there were times when I found him difficult to understand. However, I never once forgot the warm love I received from him when I was younger and deeply loved my grandfather. Encouraged by his words to keep pushing, I decided to seriously consider my future and where my relationship with Ethan was headed. When I sought legal counsel and began investigations, the truths Ethan had hidden began to surface. While betraying me, Ethan continued his relationships with other women and was spreading false information in the company that I had cheated and left home. Moreover, internal company investigations initiated by Mr. Turner revealed Ethan's attempts to embezzle company funds using my name. As I was compiling all this information on Ethan's actions, I received a call from him.
Hey, Hannah, what the hell is going on?
I hadn't heard his angry voice in a while. What I would have previously found intimidating now just seemed like noise. I took a deep breath and replied calmly. Are you referring to the content certified document I sent? Fine, I'll explain.
Why are you speaking so coldly and openly?
Have you not checked the contents of that document yet? Your actions towards our child are inexcusable. I've strongly decided to reassess our relationship, and I sent the document to convey this.
Nonsense. Didn't you cheat and leave the house on your own?
Stop it. Why do you shout so much? If you speak normally, I'll listen. Also, it's not fair to label only me as unfaithful. I'm aware of your affairs with several women in the company.
Why? How did you know? Wait, Hannah, don't tell me you've investigated everything. How much do you know?
As he expressed his shock, I firmly conveyed what needed to be said. The attorney has thoroughly investigated your actions and background. This is the result. And about your conduct in the company, you'll probably receive official communication from the company's legal counsel. Be prepared to deal with it. After a few seconds of silence, seemingly perusing the document I sent, I could hear the rustling of paper from his end. His voice was noticeably more panicked than before.
Hannah, please wait. Think about our child. Isn't it best for a child to have both parents together? So please stop thinking about divorce right now. And as for the company, if I admit my mistake and apologize, can't things be worked out?
His selfish demands and the underlying narcissism in his words filled me with deep contempt. I have ample evidence regarding everything you did. Oh, and by the way, Grandpa is furious about your actions. He's considering a lawsuit. From now on, if there's any communication, demand, or negotiation, please go through my lawyer. This will be our last direct conversation. After saying this, I pressed the end call button. I could faintly hear Ethan's voice saying wait, but his words held no significance or value to me anymore. Seeing his face again was unnecessary for me. I had a new life to welcome and had decided to leave all the legal proceedings and negotiations to my lawyer, an expert in the field. A few days later, through company intel, I found out that Ethan's wrongdoings were being exposed one after another, leading to his immediate termination. Furthermore, he was arrested by the police on charges of embezzlement. Grandpa, filled with anger about Ethan's actions towards me, decided to file a police report. As a result, Ethan became the subject of a formal investigation regarding the assault. Financially, several compensation claims were filed against Ethan, which turned out to be a considerable amount more than expected. It was certain that he would spend some time in prison, and how hard his life would be afterwards was hard to predict. I truly hope he realizes the magnitude of his actions and makes amends accordingly. On the other hand, my life changed significantly. Before Ethan was taken into police custody, I swiftly completed our divorce proceedings. A few months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, a joy that was beyond words. After giving birth, I, along with Grandpa, Lisa, and the supportive lawyer, decided to tell my daughter that her father is no longer in this world. My parents, initially shocked by the sudden divorce, moved in to support me and my newborn. And thus, our new family life began with my parents, my daughter, and me. Thanks to my parents' presence, I could focus on my work and resume my career. As time passed, my daughter started elementary school. I was given a more significant role in the company, and astonishingly, I was chosen to succeed Mr. Tanner as the head of the company. Smith Company has long been operated under my grandfather's beliefs. At its core was the philosophy of always embracing change and ensuring good airflow within the company. Under this policy, a system was established where the position of the president would be passed on to new talent after a certain period. I was also cultivated as a leader of the next generation under this system. Specifically, I gained practical experience through tasks like secretarial and accounting work, while gradually learning the ins and outs of the company's operation. If it weren't for Ethan's mistakes, he might have been in line for this role. However, the path he chose was entirely different, and as a result, I no longer felt any pity or sympathy for him. On the contrary, I felt a strong need to ensure that no employee with issues like Ethan's would arise again, and to responsibly improve by sincerely listening to the voices of each employee. Through my long time with my grandfather, I learned the importance of maintaining high aspirations like his. With his teachings in my heart, I intend to continue striving to make the company better. On the other hand, my grandfather, relieved of the heavy responsibility of being chairman, now enjoys his days in relaxation. Supported by his unwavering love, I have the confidence to face forward and move on no matter how challenging the situation.
Due to a physician shortage at the large hospital nearby, I was asked to assist without consulting patients. When I got to the hospital, I noticed a lovely patient standing by herself in the yard, soaking up the rain. "What are you doing out here like this?" I inquired. "They told me they have no time to deal with poor people suffering from incurable diseases," she remarked, her voice shaking and her eyes red. It was unimaginable to desert a sufferer. Feeling this way, I pulled out my phone, called some smart doctors, and made the decision to assist her. I had no idea how drastically one choice would change the trajectory of my life. Harry Smith is my name. Don't picture some fancy university hospital or anything like that, even though I'm a doctor. I'm a physician in a tiny, unassuming hospital. The philosophy of our hospital places the needs of its patients first. We can't take many patients because of the hospital's size, but I think that's exactly what makes it great. As a result, I was frequently busy but infrequently overburdened by incessant consultations or surgery. Due to a lack of doctors, I received a request for assistance and was my route to the main hospital today. Even though the hospital is not far from my place of employment, I always thought it was packed with patients. Patients probably felt more secure because of its immense size. I realized that patients may get care and therapy at the same location throughout their recuperation if more than one disease was found. Therefore, someone like myself, who works at a small hospital, rushes to offer support when a large hospital needs it. The big hospital was packed with patients, their families, and guests as usual. It makes sense why they called me for assistance. I pushed my way through the throng to the waiting area, where I was instantly attracted to a person in a position of authority. Shane, the son of the hospital's director, Mr. Carter, was in control, and I had to check in with him whenever I was requested to assist. I saw someone moaning in obvious pain as I started to move in Shane's direction. They had a distressed look on their faces. Since I hadn't examined her yet, I was unaware of the diagnosis, but it was clear that she was in poor health. I started to go to the patient, but Shane stopped me. "You're running late. When we call, you have to come right away. This is a serious issue." I had arrived as quickly as I could, but retaliating would only make matters worse. I simply said, "Sorry." If you're sorry, express it by your behavior. It appears that the sufferer over there is in excruciating discomfort. May I have a look? Avoid taking independent action. The patient is doing well. You can ignore them. We need you to help a patient who is now in need of surgery. Shane brought me directly to the surgery room before I had a chance to protest. I found Shane's tactics intolerable. I kept thinking that the other patient, the one Shane disregarded, was in far worse shape even as I operated on the present patient. Though I knew it would be pointless to speak to Shane, I was positive the patient needed surgery right now. I was performing surgery on a patient who was the daughter of the CEO of a large firm. I don't have to tell you what that means. Shane gave patients priority according on their social standing. He does this for a reason. The answer is clear: money. He accepted bribes from rich individuals. Surgery was frequently rescheduled, even if it meant delaying patients with life-threatening illnesses. Priority was always given to those who paid the most. He lacked any ethical or medical pride. No, I was positive Shane didn't have any of it. I remained silent, though. The hospital where I worked was not this one. I had my ideas, of course, but I was powerless as an outsider. Speaking up, I performed the surgery as instructed and made my way back to my own hospital in silence. Some time later, I was once again summoned to the large hospital. Come immediately. You have no right to refuse. Even if your hospital is busy, ignore it and get over here. Shane's arrogant tone hadn't changed. Still, I couldn't help but wonder, If they were so short-staffed, why not just hire more doctors? Well, I already had a hunch. Increasing the number of doctors would raise personnel costs and cut into profits. Once you hire someone, it's not easy to let them go. It was cheaper to call on nearby or affiliated doctors temporarily. No one here worked for free. The reality was that, without profits, a hospital couldn't stay afloat. But still, with the constant overflow of patients and hours-long wait times, I couldn't believe this was sustainable. Then again, that was just an outsider's opinion. They must have held their own discussions internally and decided this was the way to go. It didn't matter what I thought, but still, with those unpleasant thoughts floating around in my head, I made my way to the large hospital. The weather was awful, with a heavy downpour soaking everything. Holding my umbrella, I walked toward the towering structure of the hospital, which loomed over the city. No matter which direction you looked from its exterior, the luxury high-rise exuded an imposing presence. It was a stark contrast to the tiny hospital where I worked. Reaching the staff entrance, I placed my hand on the doorknob, only to see something that made me think my eyes were playing tricks on me. "That can't be right," I muttered, slinging my closed umbrella over my arm and rubbing my eyes before looking again at the courtyard. It seemed I wasn't imagining things after all. Unbelievably, there was a woman in pajamas standing in the pouring rain. She had to be one of the hospital's patients. She stared up at the sky as though completely oblivious to the rain drenching her. Her profile was delicate, otherworldly, and beautiful, yet she radiated an aura of overwhelming sadness. For a moment, I forgot all about time as I stood there staring at her. Snapping out of it, I shook my head a few times and rushed toward her. "What were you doing out here? You're going to catch a cold if you keep standing in this rain." I held my umbrella over her, shielding her from the relentless rain. And that's when I noticed it. The woman was crying. The rain had masked her tears, so I hadn't seen them until now. As she slowly turned toward me, her eyes were red from weeping. How long had she been here? How long had she been crying? I didn't know, but she was clearly consumed by grief. I waited for her to answer. Beautiful women don't open their mouths easily, but finally, in a thin voice, she muttered, "They said they have no time for someone poor, and because I have an incurable disease, there's no point in treating me." She fell silent again, closed her eyes, and let fresh tears stream down her face. But that was all I needed to hear to understand. This woman was a patient here, and she had been abandoned by Shane, the cruel son of Mr. Carter. There was no other way to interpret it. From the woman's demeanor, I could sense she was thinking, "I'm beyond saving anyway, so what does it matter if I get soaked in the rain?" Her tear-streaked face showed a resignation that said she had given up on everything. As a doctor, I couldn't just leave her like this. "I don't know who told you what, but it might still be too soon to give up. For now, let's get out of here. You'll catch a cold if you stay in this rain." She didn't say a word, but when I gently urged her to walk, she followed me. I needed to find out about her symptoms, so I called my hospital and informed them that things might get complicated. Our hospital was small, but we had several doctors who could be called geniuses. With their help, I was sure we could do something. Before heading back, I managed to coax her name out of her. Her name was Alice. It suited her beauty perfectly, though this wasn't the time to say something like, "That's a lovely name." I kept my thoughts to myself. Before I could take Alice to my hospital, there was something I had to do. I moved her to a covered area, handed her a towel and blanket loaned to me from the hospital, and headed to my usual spot. Then I headed to where Shane was still barking orders with his usual arrogance. "You're late again. When we call, you need to come immediately." "We're busy here," Shane snapped. I cut him off mid-rant. "I need to ask you something. There's a patient here named Alice, right?" "Alice? Oh, that poor girl. We don't have time to waste resources on someone like her. She's not one of our patients. She doesn't have any money. What about her?" I'll take her to my hospital. You don't care about her, so it won't be a problem, will it? Shane gave me a look like I was the biggest idiot he'd ever seen. Do as you like. Operating on her would bring in zero money anyway. We don't have time for surgeries that aren't cost-effective. It's far more productive to take care of our big spenders. The fact that he could say something so disgraceful without batting an eye was appalling. But saying anything to him would be pointless. Well then, I'll be leaving for the day. How pathetic. I bet you were just fooled by her pretty face. You think you'll save her, and maybe, just maybe, she'll fall for you. Gross. You might think I'm a monster, but you're no better than me. If you're not going to help, then get out. You're in the way. I swallowed my anger, blaring at nothing in particular to calm myself down, and hurried back to Alice. Are you feeling cold? Let's go. It's not too far from here. About a 10-minute walk. Okay. It was just one word, but at least she responded. When we arrived at my hospital, I took her straight to the examination room. Before we begin, can I ask about your condition? At my question, Alice looked down, her expression clouded for a while. Silence filled the room. I waited patiently. Finally, she raised her head and softly said, "The diagnosis. They said I have heart valve disease." Heart valve disease. I see. This was a serious condition. Medication alone wouldn't be enough for a cure. To treat this properly, she would need open heart surgery. If left untreated, even without symptoms, the 5-year survival rate was only 50%. If symptoms of heart failure had already begun, her life expectancy would be just 2 to 3 years. The surgery was complex. After opening the chest, the heart would have to be temporarily stopped, then cut open to repair the valve. Although the failure rate of the surgery itself is low, it is a complicated procedure, so it was easy to imagine Shane tossing it aside as not being worth the money. He would have shunned her by saying she was incurable, poor, etc. The first doctor she met was the worst. I knew it would be difficult. Sorry for making you look like that. It seemed I had been unconsciously making a difficult expression. Shaking off all the negativity, I spoke firmly. Yes, it's a difficult disease, but don't worry. I'm not going to abandon you. There are skilled doctors here at our hospital, not just me, and we will give everything we've got to save you. That's right. I would never abandon her because I had faced a situation like this once before. Memories of my mother surfaced in my mind. How many years had it been? My mother had been diagnosed with a severe illness. I was just a child back then, too young to remember the name of the disease. Yet, the scenes remained crystal clear in my mind. Both my parents were still young. My mother had suddenly been hospitalized. I overheard a conversation when relatives came to our house after visiting her. Why does someone as kind as her, who always wishes for others' happiness, have to suffer like this? My father had cried out, and then, for the first and only time in my life, I saw him break down in tears. Our relatives had tried their best to console him. Everyone thought my mother wouldn't make it, but she survived the surgery. The success rate was less than 20%. Yet, the doctor who took charge of her case refused to give up and performed the operation flawlessly. Because of that doctor, both my parents are still alive and well today. Whenever I visit them both during their long breaks and see how happy they are, I am reminded of how deeply grateful I am to the doctor I was then. No, I got lost in memories. You don't need to worry about anything. As for the hospital fees or surgery costs, you don't have to pay them all at once. We'll arrange a plan that works for you. Please trust us and leave it to me. Alice looked straight into my eyes. Her expression was no longer the hollow, resigned look of someone who had stood in the rain. There was life in her eyes now. Please, I trust you. I feel like I can leave everything in your hands. If it doesn't work out, I'll just accept that it was my fate. Don't talk like that. We're going to help you with everything we've got. Our team of skilled doctors, will save you. Thank you. Hearing you say that gives me so much hope." For the first time, Alice smiled. It was far more captivating than the sad expression she had worn earlier. After that, I spent my days working with the talented doctors at our hospital to create a surgical plan for Alice. Our hospital may have been small, but it was full of doctors brimming with passion. People who wanted to confront patients' illnesses head-on and help them return to their normal lives. We consulted experienced surgeons, listing out the best possible methods for the operation. Before I knew it, the day of Alice's surgery had arrived. I'll do it. I'll make sure the surgery is a success. In the midst of my hot and strong determination, I received a phone call from someone whose face and voice I did not want to see or hear. I heard something unbelievable, so I had to call. "Are you really planning to go through with that woman's surgery?" Ever since I had taken Alice under my care, Shane had stopped calling me for help. Or rather, even if he did call, I simply didn't respond. After seeing how he treated Alice, I had no intention of listening to him ever again. Of course, I still worried about the patients at his hospital, but I wasn't omniscient or all-powerful. Sometimes you have to make choices. Perhaps that's why Shane, who had previously kept his tone somewhat businesslike, was now speaking to me with an overly casual air. "Yes, I'm sorry, but I don't have time to talk. May I hang up now?" "Come on, don't be like that. Look, if you want, I can send you an easier patient instead of dealing with that troublesome woman. There's no shortage of patients who can't pay, you know. You like taking care of the rejects, don't you?" "That won't be necessary. I'll be focusing on the surgery now, so I'll take my leave." Acting all noble, huh? I was offering you something helpful and you refuse. Don't get cocky. You're not as important as you think. There was no point in dealing with him any further. I silently hung up the phone. I didn't have time for his nonsense. Before the surgery, Alice sat nervously, her expression tense. Of course, she was nervous. For us as doctors, surgeries are part of our daily lives, but for patients, this is not something they go through often. I wanted to say something to ease her mind, even just a little. "Is there anything you want to do once you're healed, Alice?" Something I want to do. There's one thing that comes to mind." "That's great. What is it?" "I want to do something for my mother. I was raised in a single-parent home. We didn't have much, but I grew up surrounded by love. My mother worked so hard for me, even though her health wasn't strong. If it weren't for her efforts, I wouldn't be here today. I can tell that you were raised with a lot of love. It shows in who you are." "Really? That makes me happy to hear. I want to overcome this surgery, meet a wonderful man, and start a family. I think growing up in a single-parent home made me want to build a family of my own even more." Hearing her words, I felt my resolve harden even further. "Don't worry. I know you'll be able to build a beautiful family. We're going to make this surgery a success. I promise I'll put everything I've learned and all my experience into healing you." Hearing that, Alice showed me the brightest smile yet. Her soft expression was radiant, far more beautiful than any sadness could ever be. We followed the surgical plan we had prepared so meticulously. Though success rates have improved over the years, the risk of failure is never zero. But this time, everything went according to plan, and the surgery was a success. When Alice woke up from the anesthesia and saw my face, she whispered a quiet thank you. "Thank you so much. You successfully performed the surgery. I was so anxious last night that I couldn't sleep, but seeing Alice's face here now makes me so happy. Thank you." Alice's mother wiped away her tears with a tissue, repeatedly thanking me through her sobs. "More than anything, I'm just glad the surgery went well." Taking a deep breath as I sat in the break room sipping a coffee I had just bought from the vending machine, I had no idea that the results of this surgery would have such an unexpected impact on our hospital. We had implemented a new technique that had been gaining attention in the medical community, and its success spread like wildfire. Before long, the hospital's reputation soared, and patients began flocking to us. The effects didn't stop there. Our hospital, though small, offered a broad range of specialties. Patients who had been frustrated by the long waits and impersonal treatment at the large hospital began coming to us instead. The ripple effect reached even Shane's high-paying VIP patients, who also began seeking care at our hospital. I hadn't expected any of this. It never crossed my mind that the outcome of one surgery would spread so far and wide. Now that this had happened, I knew we couldn't just let it happen. Surely, there is one person who does not feel good about this outcome. Shane came to my mind, and sure enough, he responded in the most dramatic way imaginable. He stormed into our hospital himself. "Hey Harry, just because you've gotten a little fame doesn't mean you can go stealing our top clients. You're out of line. We called you in for extra cash, and this is how you repay us? You're an ungrateful piece of garbage." Shane's words came out calmly at first, but the fury boiling under the surface was impossible to miss. Still, it was nothing but petty resentment. He didn't realize that his neglect of patients and focus on profits had driven them away. "This is just a result of our hospital's philosophy, Shane. We've always prioritized caring for our patients, and this surgery simply brought that to light. If you continue treating patients as nothing but money, this outcome was inevitable. It was only a matter of time." When I said this in one breath, Shane was hostile and started to stamp his feet. It was the act of a child resentful of things not going his way. "Don't get so full of yourself. You're acting like it's all my fault, but I know what you're doing. You're spreading news of that surgery everywhere to show off. A tiny second-rate hospital like this wouldn't stand a chance otherwise. Don't think you'll keep riding this way forever." Shane spat out his parting words, his anger radiating from every fiber of his being as he stormed out. It's no use talking to him anymore, I thought. Shane and I were fundamentally different. Even if we spent an eternity arguing, we would never reach a common ground. It was pointless to even try. Besides, we worked in separate hospitals. I figured we would probably never cross paths again, so I focused on my own work. But then something completely unexpected happened. Rumors began to spread that I had committed multiple medical errors in the past and had been covering them up. The response had been tremendous. Thanks to the extensive coverage on the terrestrial news, our hospital has been receiving so many calls that it has interfered with business operations. I have no idea what they're talking about. I swear I don't know anything about this. After the news broke, the higher-ups at the hospital called me in to explain. I opened with those words immediately. Be that as it may, this was reported widely on the news. Isn't it possible someone dug up something from your past? With all due respect, I haven't hidden anything. I've never made a medical mistake, let alone covered one up. I truly don't understand how this could be happening. You've worked hard for us for a long time, and you successfully performed that new surgical technique. I want to believe you. I really do, but the pressure from public opinion is hard for a small hospital like ours to withstand. Wouldn't it be easier just to cut ties with him? That would settle the issue and protect the hospital. No, I said, shaking my head. No, let's take a break. We'll clear our heads and revisit this with cooler tempers. The discussion ended in deadlock. I was told that my fate would be decided after the break, so I walked aimlessly through the hospital corridors. What the hell am I supposed to do? That thought played on an endless loop in my head. No matter how hard I tried to think of a solution, I couldn't come up with anything. In the first place, I did not do anything, so there is no way I can find any evidence. But as the rumors spread, the impact began to show. The number of patients coming to the hospital dropped dramatically, and even inpatients began to be transferred to other hospitals. The speed of it all was staggering. You could visibly see more empty rooms each day. My colleagues, who I thought were my friends at first, said to me, "You don't do that." But recently, they have been distant, as if they don't want any trouble at all. This was what hurt the most. I had thought we shared strong bonds of trust. Now I felt completely alone. It seemed like everyone was looking at me with suspicion. How did it come to this? I had worked so hard for the hospital and for my patients. Where had things gone so wrong? It felt like some invisible force was at work against me, something I couldn't fight. If that's true, there's nothing I can do about it, because how can I catch the tail of such a thing? With despair weighing me down, I continued wandering the halls. However, I did not know myself how long I could endure this state of affairs. I knew it wouldn't take long for my heart to completely give out. When the break ended, I returned to the meeting room. The executives' faces were as grim as before, and hopelessness swallowed me whole. "Do you have any final words to say?" "No," I whispered. "This is for the good of the hospital. I hope you understand. Why do I have to go through something so unfair?" My spirit had been completely broken. I felt like I couldn't fight anymore. I was ready to accept whatever punishment they decided on. I stared blankly at the sterile ceiling, then suddenly, the door burst open. Alice walked in briskly, her expression calm but determined. "What is the meaning of this? You can't just walk in without knocking. This area is off limits to unauthorized personnel." Ignoring the harsh words directed at her, Alice spoke sharply and confidently. "I've been listening outside for a while now. Why is this discussion proceeding as if Dr. Smith is guilty? I was one of his patients, and I know him well enough to say this. There's no way a doctor dedicated to his patients as Dr. Smith would ever cover up a medical mistake. Even when we talked, he always had his patients' best interests at heart." I was stunned. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect Alice to storm into this room and defend me so boldly. "If you're so sure," one of the executives began, "can you provide evidence to prove his innocence?" "Absolutely. I have a lead that can uncover the truth. Give me a little time to investigate." Alice turned to me, giving a firm nod before striding out of the room with purpose. "Well, it seems you have at least one patient who trusts you," the executive said. "We'll give that woman time to conduct her investigation, but we can't wait forever. Until then, you're on suspension." And so, I found myself confined to my apartment, unable to focus on anything. Alice's sudden entrance replayed in my mind over and over. How could she be so confident? She said she had a clue, but I had no idea what it was. 3 days passed without a single call or message. I began to fear the worst, that no one would contact me, and I'd simply be dismissed from the hospital without a word. That thought loomed constantly in my mind, gnawing at me. I stopped eating, drinking only the bare minimum of water. Just as I felt I couldn't endure the stagnation any longer, my phone rang. The number was unregistered. "Wiley," I picked up. "Sorry for the sudden call, Dr. Smith. We found proof of your innocence. Can you come to the hospital right now?" "Is this real?" I asked, my voice cracking with disbelief. "Yes. I'll explain everything when you get here. Please trust me." Her voice was confident, brimming with resolve. Finally, I showered, shaved my overgrown beard, and made my way to the hospital, feeling lighter for the first time in days. At the entrance, Alice was waiting for me. "Everything's been arranged. Let's go." When we entered the conference room, the executives were seated, and there, sitting nervously hunched in his chair, was Shane. I knew it. I thought maybe. No, rather, Shane's words still stuck in my mind. "Don't think that things will continue to go well like this in the future." They were sticking with me so badly that I thought he was going to do something about it. But I also knew he wouldn't be bold enough to make up a medical error. "Let me start by saying this," Alice said. "I am a police officer." The room fell into stunned silence. I suspected that someone was intentionally spreading false information about Dr. Smith's alleged medical errors. So I used every tool at my disposal to investigate. What I found was that Shane here orchestrated the entire smear campaign. All eyes turned to Shane, who looked visibly shaken. Still, he wasn't the type to admit defeat so easily. "What proof do you have? You're making this up. And who's to say you're really a cop?" Without missing a beat, Alice pulled out her ID badge, holding it up for all to see. "That could be fake," Shane sneered. "Call the police and confirm it. Don't listen to this crazy woman." Shane's voice rose in panic. "You're just bitter because I kicked you out of the hospital. Don't get cocky just because you survived one stupid surgery, you broke loser. Can you explain this?" Alice then thrust a 4-size sheet of paper in front of Shane, with a large picture of a man with a bad physiognomy. In an instant, Shane's complexion turned earthy. This individual was paid to hack media outlets and spread the fabricated stories about Dr. Smith's medical malpractice. We found him, and when questioned, he spilled everything. He confessed to working under Shane's orders. There's no escaping this now. No, wait. This is a mistake. You have it wrong. At that moment, Mr. Carter suddenly stood up, his face flushed with anger. "Shane, you despicable fool. Do you have any idea what you've done? If this gets out to the media, our hospital will be ruined. You've dragged us all into this mess. You'll bear full responsibility for this. Pack your things and get out now. From this moment on, you are no longer my son. I've also heard about how you've been discriminating against patients, prioritizing the rich while bullying others, and threatening our doctors to stay silent. You're a disgrace to everything we stand for as medical professionals. Now leave." "No, this can't be. Get out." Terrified by the sight of him banging his desk repeatedly with his fist in a rage, Shane fled out of the conference room as if to escape. No one ever saw him again after that day. Rumors floated around about a man wandering aimlessly through desolate places, looking over his shoulder in constant fear. It seemed that Shane, now obsessed with avoiding anyone's gaze, lived like a shadow, hiding away from the world. What happens when someone who worshipped money loses everything? Only God knows. A few hours after Shane left the hospital, the media began publicly announcing that the claims of my medical malpractice cover-up had been false. The news spread across online platforms as well, and slowly but surely, the tide of public opinion turned in our favor. Not long after, my fellow doctors came to apologize to me. We didn't want to act like that, but Shane was watching us, and we had no choice but to keep our distance. Everyone said the same thing. Now things are back to normal between me and my colleagues. I understand why they acted the way they did. Nobody wanted to fall into the same trap after seeing what happened to me. It couldn't be helped. With Shane gone, it was time to let it all go and move forward. There was also a change in my personal life. After things calmed down a bit, I invited Alice to dinner to thank her for believing in me and working tirelessly to gather evidence to clear my name. When I met and talked with her in private and on equal footing, rather than as doctor and patient, I learned that we both take professionalism and pride in our work. Not only that, but we discovered we had a lot in common. Even our hobbies matched surprisingly well. Where should we go next? When can we see each other again? As we made promise after promise, something deeper grew between us. Eventually, we started dating. Having overcome that crisis together, I know we can face any challenge that comes our way. I want to build the warm family that Alice told me about at that time. Kyle is my name. I've been living alone since I was 15 years old. My younger brother, boy is 10 years younger than me, was married before me, and I never married. My 22-year-old brother Ryan is set to tie the knot with the woman he has been seeing since high school. That seemed like enough to make everybody pleased, but it turns out that the bride is a gangster's daughter. I'm pretty excited about it because it's my brother's wedding. I fill the gift envelope to overflowing and make my way to the location. However, I was met with a harsh reception. Whoa, what a crowd. In any case, I'm sitting with the family. Oh, Mom is also present. Therefore, I'm most likely at that table. I entered with a smile. Hey, I'm here. Everyone appears to be present already. Have you all just arrived here as well? My parents simply went white and remained silent, even when I asked. I looked down, wondering what was going on, expecting to see a nameplate at my seat, but instead I saw the words, "Get lost, punk." What the hell is this? Startled, I mumbled. The bride's side of the family burst into laughter as soon as I looked up. The bride and groom, who were already seated, were giggling uncontrollably. The guests who didn't fully understand the scenario were the only ones who weren't laughing. Hey, buddy, I assume you've seen your nameplate. I had it made especially for you, Ryan grinned. Why would you do this, Ryan? Did you truly believe that I was a punk? Stunned, I inquired. Someone on the bride's side added, So, you're the Kyle Ryan's been telling us about. The punk brother. Indeed, you definitely have a rather punk vibe. In fact, you might actually be one. I'm a punk, Ryan said. What made you think that? It's been more than 15 years since we last saw one another. I objected. That's the precise reason. Since you haven't returned since you graduated from middle school, what else am I to assume about you besides that you're a loser punk? Ryan shot back. Look, I despise you. We thought this would be the ideal chance to break things off, as I've always wanted to do it. What the devil? So why did you send me an invitation at all? I retorted. You could have simply kept it that way for the rest of our lives if you didn't want to see me. It's not that easy. Cutting ties formally is something we must mention correctly. You know, it would be a pain if you came seeking for us after something happened. However, doing it this way, you didn't anticipate my harm. Furthermore, you didn't have to ask me to say all of this. I exclaimed, my voice rising in annoyance. You could have just told Mom or something to let Mechno never to come near you again. Well, I expected you to bring a nice, fat gift envelope because I knew you. Indeed, you provided us with more than anyone else. So yes, we are finished. You are free to return home. Are you not a gangster yourself, even if you keep calling me a punk? You're not exactly in a position to speak if that's the case, are you? I put him to the test. I don't give a damn. I don't. You hear me? Because my wife and I are today's stars. You are merely a cash cow, not even a supporting character. Ryan gave a smirk. When I left home, Ryan, you weren't like this. What took place? Aren't we still related? Relatives? Do you mean me? It's been 17 years since we had a meaningful talk. You realize we're strangers? Complete strangers. To be honest, I'm baffled by your ability to act differently. The guys I met at school, the people I've met since joining the gang, anyone feels closer to. Methin' you ever have, he said in an icy voice. I don't like how you're putting this. It's like you're saying I chose not to see you, I argued. Isn't that exactly what happened? If you actually cared about me, you would have shown up, now and then. But you didn't even come home for the holidays, not once. And now, here you are, acting like some big shot brother. Whatever. I don't need you. Just leave and don't ever show your face again, he snapped. Why do you have to say it like that? What happened to you in the last 17 years? I asked, struggling to keep my composure. What happened? Are you serious? Too much to count. There were times I wanted to talk to you, to ask for advice, but you were never there. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad kept comparing me to you. Your brother would have done better. Your brother wouldn't have screwed this up. I'm me, and you're you, right? I'm pissed off at you. And them, he shouted. So, in simple terms, you're sulking, I said, trying to lighten the mood. What? No. I'm telling you, I hate you. You walked out on us and never came back. No matter what I did, you didn't care. Ryan yelled. That's not true. As your brother, I made sure to support you when it mattered. I bought you that bike in middle school and all your sports gear in high school. I paid for all of it. What more could you possibly want? I countered. Oh, so just because you threw some money around, that makes you a big brother? That attitude of yours pisses me off. Acting like you're better just because you're older. Do me a favor and disappear. Never show your face in front of me again, he spat. I joined the gang to win, marrying this woman because it promised me the gangster boss position in the future. Mr. Keller likes me. Hell, I'm already the lieutenant. I don't care if you're a punk or whatever. You mean nothing to me. If you're not leaving, then bow down to me and regret the way you've ignored me all these years. Ryan, I get where you're coming from, but get lost, punk, was way too much. That's no way to talk to your brother, I said firmly. That lecture of yours pisses me off too. Didn't I say it's been 17 years? I already told you, we're strangers. So don't you dare try to preach to me. I could beat the crap out of you right here, you know. Just as Ryan lunged at me, the bride's father grabbed his arm. Hey, calm down. If you do that here, someone's going to call the cops. No question about it. If that happens, your revenge will be for nothing, right? But Mr. Keller, I hate this guy. I just want to make him suffer. I've worked my ass off for this moment. I've taken on every dirty job you gave me. I've done everything I could to get in your good graces, and now, finally, all my hard work is about to pay off. Still, beating him to a pulp right here is boring, isn't it? If you really think he's just some punk, bring him under our group's wing instead. That way, he'll never dare defy you again. Hey, why are you just assuming I'm some punk? There's no way you could know what I'm up to, right? Someone who stormed out of the house and barely comes back couldn't possibly have a decent job. Anyone alive would think the same thing. I see. Well, you're not entirely wrong about that. Anyway, that's how it is. We can't have any doubts about the man marrying into our family, especially if he's going to be the lieutenant. Sorry, but can you just disappear already? If you leave today, we're done. Strangers, if I see you in town again, I'll beat you to a pulp, so keep that in mind. It was then the doors to the venue burst open, and a blonde-haired beauty stormed in. Boss, should we crush this group? What did you just say? Hey, who the hell are you? Don't come barging in here talking like that. Start by introducing yourself before spouting something so dangerous. And who's this boss you're talking about? Which one of us do you mean? The only one who deserves to be called a boss here is Mr. Keller, our leader. Mr. Keller, do you know this woman? And if so, who exactly is she trying to crush? No, I don't know any woman like her. I don't even need to deal with nonsense like this. Hey, young lady, you think you can wreck someone's happiness and just get away with it. I'm not talking to you guys anyway. And besides, would I call someone a boss if I didn't even know them? There's only one person I call a boss. Then who the hell are you talking about when you say the boss? If you keep spewing nonsense, I'll have you thrown out of here. Ha! You guys have really done it now, haven't you? I hope you're ready to get beaten to a pulp. Wait, don't tell me. The boss you're talking about is Hannah. That's enough. There's no need to bother with people like them. But boss, if we let them disrespect you like this, your pride. It doesn't matter. I don't care about my pride. I thought you'd be happy to see me again after all. This time. Sorry, Ryan, for being your punk of brother. Wait, why the hell is a blonde woman like her calling you the boss? Sure, I've been calling you a punk all this time, but are you really one? Well, I'm not exactly a punk, but it's close enough that I don't deny it. It's not something you need to get so worked up about. If you're saying you'll never have anything to do with me again, then you don't need to worry about it either. Hannah, leave these guys alone. They'll destroy themselves anyway. There's no need for us to dirty our hands. Tell that to the main family. Wait, hold on. What is happening right now? Why are you talking like you're so high and mighty? And what the hell do you mean by main family? Man, you're such a pain. Don't you already get the gist of it? Why bother asking when you already know deep down? Stop preaching and just answer me already. Who the hell are you talking about when you say main family? Wow, you really can't think for yourself, can you? When the boss says the main family, he's talking about the head family of your Mitchell group. He's referring to the Harrison Association. The Harrison Association. That's seriously our main family. Why the hell do you guys know about such a massive gangster group? That also means there's some kind of connection if you're reporting back, right? What the hell is going on? There's no need to overthink this. The answer is much, much simpler than you think. Sure, I might seem like some punk, but the organization I belong to is way more organized than you'd imagine. Hey, do you know the Andersons? The Andersons? There's no way I'd know something like that. They're probably just some wannabe gang or something, right? You don't know. Well, maybe it's better that you don't. The Andersons is an organization that monitors the local gangsters from the shadows. They're constantly watching to ensure no gangster groups step out of line with the main family. Has anyone from your crew ever disappeared without a word? Someone who never said they were moving or leaving the group, but just vanished? Now that you mention it, there might be a few. But what does that have to do with anything? If the Andersons is just watching and reporting back to the main family, that means it's the main family who takes action directly. I know most of the people tied to the main family, and if they're going to summon anyone from our group, the main family would contact us directly. That's not entirely wrong, but you're missing something. The Andersons work directly under the Harrison Association. Once they report back and get approval from the main family, they have the right to handle things themselves, meaning they don't need to go through the main family to deal with anyone causing problems. What the hell? No one told me that. The main family doesn't want the lower branches knowing about the Andersons. If people knew, they might take precautions against the Andersons and cause trouble without getting caught. That's why they're told to keep their existence under wraps. Then isn't you talking about it now a huge problem for the main family? Maybe you'll end up getting dealt with by the main family too. Are you really the boss's brother? For someone who's supposed to be, you're ridiculously slow on the uptake. Shut up. Who the hell even are you? Why do you keep calling my brother the boss? After all this, you still don't get it. Boss, I mean Kyle, is the leader of the Andersons. What? My brother is the leader of this Andersons thing? Yeah, that's why I call him the boss. Right? I only call Kyle the boss. As for my father, I call him the leader. Leader? Who the hell even are you if you're calling your dad the leader? What family are you from? Hey, you might want to watch your mouth when you're talking to the daughter of the main family. The daughter of the main family? Who were you talking about? Me, obviously. Is your brain completely fried? I'm Hannah, the daughter of the Harrison Association. But don't bother remembering it. My father never introduces me to the crew or to the lower branches. Plus, since I'm with the Andersons now, I stay out of the public eye even more. Don't feel bad about not knowing me. It's something you don't need to know anyway. But still, I don't like the way you've been talking since earlier. That's a separate matter, and I'll make sure you're properly punished for it. What the hell? What is wrong with all of you? Are you saying I don't know anything? Is it so bad to not know We're not saying it's bad, but you're an adult now, so you'll need to take responsibility for it. Take responsibility. What do you mean by that? First, you're going to apologize to the boss for pulling such a pathetic stunt with that nameplate earlier. Besides, I can't keep causing trouble for everyone else here. I'll inform you later about how you'll be dealt with. If you defy us, we'll report to the main family, and it won't just be you. Facing consequences, your entire organization will have to take responsibility. So watch yourself. What? You're saying the whole crew would be held accountable? You think just because you're a woman I won't do anything to you? You're dead wrong. Hey Ryan, knock it off. Just apologize already. Mr. Keller, why should I have to bow down to some woman? I've never met anyone in my life who pisses me off this much. Mr. Keller, doesn't any of this bother you? You think it doesn't piss me off too? If it was just you taking the heat, I wouldn't care how much you snapped back. But if this involves the whole crew, that's a completely different story. Listen to me. You're the lieutenant, and I'm the leader. If the crew takes the blame for this, it could mean the end of the organization. Do you feel nothing as a lieutenant with so many people under you? It's not like I don't feel anything. But I hate this. Why the hell should we be punished by people like them? They're not exactly on the straight and narrow either. Stop whining and apologize. I'll bow down too if that's what it takes. So just swear you'll never do something like this again. No way. I absolutely refuse to bow, not for all the money in the world. That's how much I hate my brother. Isn't that what you understood when you agreed to let me pull this stunt with the seating card? That's because I thought you needed to free yourself from your brother's shadow. If I bow now, my heart will still be under his control. I refuse. If you want to bow so badly, Mr. Keller, do it yourself. All right. Can we drop this farce already? Shut up. I'm talking to Mr. Keller right now. What? This whole thing started as a conversation between you and my boss, and now you're just ignoring my boss's side of things. What the hell is wrong with you? Shut your mouth. I don't care if you're the main family's daughter or whatever. Stay out of this, woman. What did you just say? You're underestimating me because I'm a woman, aren't you? Fine. There's no need for any more discussion with you idiots. Boss, are you good with this? Can I just take care of these guys? Whoa, calm down. Stop acting like the three of you can settle this yourselves. As you said, this is between me and Ryan, isn't it? But his tone is impossible to ignore. It's fine. Thanks, Hannah, for being angry on my behalf, but it's over now. I'm cutting ties with Ryan. If he doesn't want me in his life, then so be it. But of course, I'll still be reporting all of this to the main family. Wait a second. I can't overlook that. As the leader, I have a duty to protect my men. As their leader, I'll apologize. Just don't report this to the main family. Don't try to weasel out of this. Do you think I'll let someone off the hook when they acted like they were completely uninvolved? You joined Ryan in calling me a punk, didn't you? Sorry to say, but as much as you think I'm just a punk, I can't afford to let anyone disrespect me. Don't worry. I haven't been ordered by the main family yet, so I'm not going to deal with this right now. Relax, though. It's probably only a matter of time. You've got to be kidding. Hey, Ryan, he's your brother, isn't he? Get on your knees and apologize. That's the least you can do. I will never apologize. I've spent my whole life being compared to someone I can barely even remember. I've always been second. I've finally gotten my chance to stand in the spotlight, and now you want me to live under him again. I can't stand it. Ryan, are you seriously saying that as the lieutenant? To think my own brother is so stubborn. He won't even apologize. I'm truly disappointed in you. Well then, I think I'll be leaving. This wedding's not fun in the slightest. Goodbye, Ryan and Mr. Keller. I won't forget about you or the Mitchell group. I'll talk to the main family, and we can settle this later. Oh, and I'll be taking back the wedding gift I gave you. There's no way I'd let you get away with putting me through this and still collect my money. See you. As I headed for the exit, other attendees began to stand up and leave one by one. Most of the people at this wedding were acquaintances of mine. Some were even members of the Andersons. In fact, more people sitting in Ryan's friends section were under my command. What? Why are all of you leaving too? This has nothing to do with you. Hey, didn't you hear me say wait? Ryan's shouts rang out, but they were in vain. Nearly everyone disappeared from the venue. Since the food and drinks were untouched, I spoke to the reception and retrieved the wedding gifts. With most of the guests gone, I'm sure the wedding costs will be tough to cover. Man, I've never seen anyone stand up to their own brother like that before. Are you sure it's fine to leave those guys alone? We could have dealt with them. Yeah, maybe. But honestly, it's not my problem anymore. I'll let the main family decide. I headed straight to the main family's headquarters to report what happened. They instructed Meadow hold off for now and wait for further orders. Then, a few weeks later, Ryan and Mr. Keller suddenly appeared at the Andersons' office. Hey, is my brother here? Your dear little brother came all this way. Why not show your face? Sighing at the nuisance, I stood up and walked toward the entrance. Ryan and his crew stood there looking like they were ready for a fight. My not-so-dear brother is here, so I showed my face. What do you want this time? Here, to whine about the wedding. Nah, it's not like that. I just wanted to talk about what happened. Oh. Are you here to beg for forgiveness, or maybe you had a sudden change of heart and decided to apologize? Nope, I'm not here to apologize. I just want you to promise not to report this to the main family. Why the hell are you acting so high and mighty? If you want me to let this slide, you should be growling like hell. I'm not going to apologize to you or act all humble. All you need to do is decide whether you'll forgive us or not. You think I forgive you? You're the one who wanted to cut ties, remember? I'm giving you what you wanted, cutting ties completely. You should be grateful, though maybe not in the way you imagined. Oh, is that so? If that's how you want it, then fine. Fine? What do you mean, fine? I mean, if you won't forgive me for something like that, then I'm done. Boys, surround him. At Ryan's command, a group of men appeared, surrounding the Andersons' office. What the hell is this? If you won't forgive me, then I can't forgive you either. Your shadow has been suffocating me my whole life, so I decided to physically cut ties with you. Oh, so this is your plan to get rid of me, huh? Exactly. There's no way you can handle this many guys surrounding you. You didn't see this coming, did you? I'm ending this here and now. I see you thought I wouldn't be prepared, so you showed up out of the blue to take me down. That's right. You've mocked me for long enough. This ends here, both you and the Andersons' organization. That's disappointing. What's disappointing? If anything, it's you who's pathetic. You're about to get beaten to a pulp. By us. The fact that you think you can take me down, that's what's disappointing. What the hell are you saying? Quit spouting nonsense. Enough. Take him down. At that moment, the Mitchell crew found themselves surrounded by an even larger group of men. What the hell is this? What's going on? It's exactly what it looks like. Your every move has been watched. Nothing you've done is a secret. But how? We planned everything quietly, keeping it within the crew. Did you forget what the Andersons do? We monitor gangster groups, report to the main family, and take care of things ourselves when necessary. I told you, that's our job in the Andersons, didn't I? So how do you think we keep watch? Movements even the head family wouldn't notice. How did you think we were able to track all that? I don't know. It's simple. There are spies planted in the offices of the main family subsidiary groups. Highly trained spies. They're so good even the crew never notices. You didn't figure it out, did you? You had one in your crew too. But there's no way you could have mobilized this fast. There's no problem when preparations are already in place. Plus, we had orders from the main family. Funny enough, we were just about to head to your office anyway. Shall we go together? You can't be serious. Why are we being dealt with? We didn't do anything wrong. Don't worry, you'll get your explanation when we arrive at the Mitchell office. Take every Mitchell member and load them into the cars. We're moving out. Wait, no, I'm not going anywhere. Give it up, Ryan. It doesn't matter what you say or do. It's over. The Anderson members moved in, taking Ryan and Mr. Keller into custody. After a drive, we arrived at the Mitchell Group's office, where Hannah was already waiting. From inside that building, angry shouting could be heard. Beside Hannah stood Ryan's wife, now immobilized and restrained by Hannah. Why? Why is this happening? What's going on? Explain this. Fine. I'll explain everything. It's pretty simple, really. First of all, this woman was running illegal clubs, not just bars, but those kinds of places, and at outrageous prices. Anyone who refused to pay was violently beaten by her people. You get it now, don't you? We wouldn't even need to lift a finger if we told the police. It'd be game over. The main families, orders are clear. Immediate expulsion from their ranks, dissolution of the office, and exile from this town. I thought about letting it slide for now, but look at this mess, so I'll be carrying out the main family's orders as instructed. Wait, please. No, we didn't actually do anything to you yet, and we're family. I'm your brother. Cut me some slack. Family? You think I forgot the things you said to me? I never want to see your face again. Get lost, punk. After that, Ryan and Mr. Keller, having lost their will to fight, were dealt with by the Anderson members. As a reward for my actions, the main family designated the Mitchell Group's office as the Andersons' new headquarters. Most of the Mitchell members were taken under the Andersons' wing to be retrained and disciplined. Ryan and the others have been declared missing, but in reality, we made sure they were properly dealt with. They won't be coming back to this town ever again. That wedding the other day was a total disaster, wasn't it? Honestly, after seeing that, I don't even want to get married anymore. Yeah, well, to be fair, that wedding was way too unique for its own good. By the way, Hannah, isn't Ryan and his wife around the same age as you? They are a year older. Honestly, it kind of makes me lose hope for everything. I used to think early marriages were something to envy, but after seeing that wedding, it kind of kills the dream, doesn't it? Well then, what kind of wedding would you want, Hannah? Well, I'd want a happy wedding with someone I love, of course. I see. So, want to try having a happy wedding. What do you mean by that? That's just what I said, word for word. Hannah's face turned bright red, clearly flustered. I'd known about her feelings for a long time, but I was finally able to put my thoughts into words. From now on, I'll focus not only on my work with the Andersons, but also on building a future with Hannah. Bob Thompson is my name. I work for a small to medium-sized company and am 25 years old. It's basically a daily cycle of going back and forth between the office and home. However, I always make time to visit a specific location, which is a park close to the subway station. Someone is always seated on one of the benches there. Good night. You're back here, huh? One of the young women responded. At first impression, her long blonde hair gave her the appearance of a classic rebel. She is, presumably, the head of some female group, and she is a true renegade. Why am I at the park talking to her? We should go back several months. I made the decision to bypass that park one day. It was gloomy. Catherine was seated on the bench, and although I assumed it was empty, she was there. Her cheek had what seemed to be a bruise from a battle. Are you okay? I blurted out in concern. Mind your own business, she snapped, and fled. That was how I met. It was really quite terrible, to be honest. However, I couldn't stop thinking about Catherine for some reason. I was struck by how much she resembled my younger self. I wasn't a rebel, but I did have my crazy moments. After my parents separated, I spent the remainder of my youth in an orphanage. I didn't get along with the other kids, and nobody ever came to visit. Perhaps it was a case of juvenile pride, but I thought crying was reserved for the weak and asking for help was an admission of failure. Even after I left the institution at the age of 18 and started my current employment, that mindset remained the same. When I first started working, I had no idea what I was doing and was too proud to ask for help. I just apologized and attempted to repair things myself, which typically made them worse. When the president saw all of this, he grew worried. Because my company is small, everyone, including the president, gets along well. I'd assumed I was going to get a lecture when he asked me out for a drink. However, the president complimented me, saying I was putting in a lot of effort. Ask those around you for information if you don't know. Ask for help if you need it. He assured me that depending on someone does not imply weakness. I had a deep understanding of my emotions. It is not a sign of weakness to rely on someone. I completely agreed with him, although it came as a shock to me at the moment. I was really saved by what he said. From then on, I stopped bottling up everything, and my mistakes significantly decreased. Catherine really reminded me of myself back then, so I began visiting the park often, looking for her. I just wanted to talk with her for my own satisfaction. She frequented the park, and nearly 10 times I'd approach her, and she'd run away. Every time I saw her, she had some kind of injury. So I started carrying Band-Aids, hoping to give her one someday. On our 11th encounter, maybe she gave up or something, but she finally said, "You're so persistent," and we started talking. At this point, I was pretty stubborn myself, and my initial goal had shifted. I just wanted a proper introduction. So when I got the chance to talk to her, I started with my story. I told her I was worried about her injuries and that it was unsafe for her to be alone. She responded with a scowl, "You're not my dad, are you?" But she gratefully accepted the Band-Aid I offered. I could tell that, despite her tough exterior, deep down she was a soft person. Maybe it was because I gave her a Band-Aid, or she just wanted more, but she began coming to the park daily. We chat for about 10 minutes, and I learned that her name was Catherine. She was 20, the leader of a girls' gang, and she'd get into fights with her crew daily. "One of the crew members has quite the fiery temper," she said. "She's like, the boss is too soft, so I'm going to set things straight," and she started a fight with me. When I fought back hard, next thing I know, none of my crew was on my side anymore. She looked down sadly. I took over as the leader of the group, trying to work for everyone's good, but it seems like folks aren't too happy with the way I do things. I might get kicked out soon. At that moment, her face looked so young and full of worry. I've never been involved with gang stuff, but I do know the loneliness of being isolated in a group. But I also knew that giving advice might just earn me a "Who do you think you are?" my parent. All I can say is, being in charge is tough, was all I could muster in her support. One day, after this routine of meeting up at the park and talking for about 10 minutes had been going on for a while, a significant incident occurred that would change our relationship. As always, I went to the park carrying some Band-Aids. But when I got there, Catherine was curled up, sitting on the bench with her legs pulled up, face buried in her arms. I rushed to her side. "Catherine, what happened?" I exclaimed. When she looked up, tears were streaming down her face. "Oh, Bob." The moment she saw my face, she hugged me tightly. I was taken aback, but tried to comfort her by patting her back. After a while, her crying slowed down, punctuated by occasional hiccups. On closer look, her cheek was swollen, and her injuries seemed worse than usual. Seeing my concern, she started to cry again. I lost a fight. They kicked me out. It turns out she finally lost to that fiery member and was dethroned as the gang's boss. Over time, it seems the majority had sided with this new leader, and no one was there to support. Catherine. I don't want to be alone. I'm scared. She looked genuinely terrified. Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but blurt out, "I'm here for you. It'll be all right." It might have been a reckless thing to say, but I couldn't think of anything else to calm her down. After that, I just listened to her quietly. She talked about how she tried her best but still faced backlash from her crew and wondered what she could have done differently. I didn't have the answers, but I guess just talking helped her calm down. Eventually, she stopped crying altogether. "Sorry, Bob. I showed you a pathetic side of me." Just because you cried or relied on someone doesn't mean you're weak, Catherine. So don't make that face. When I said that, Catherine's eyes widened in surprise. I realized it was the same reaction I had once. Probably the president must have felt this way when he comforted me back then. Given that we spoke longer than usual, it was already late. She seemed calmer, but it was getting late, so I thought I should probably drive her home. Checking the time, I realized, oh, no, I missed the last train. Apparently, we got so engrossed in our conversation that the last train had left. Tomorrow's an off day from work, so after dropping her off, I thought of staying over somewhere. But then, Catherine dropped a bombshell. "Why don't you come over to my place?" Even if she's 20, I thought it was a bit much to go inside her house. However, Catherine said, "If you're dropping me off, it's fine, right? You won't do anything weird, will you?" I assured her I had no ill intentions. The more I would have denied it, the guiltier I might have seemed, so I gratefully accepted her offer. She lived in a small apartment. Apparently, she used to live with her dad, but they don't get along anymore, so she lives alone now. "Thanks for having me." "Sure, come on in." And like that, I ended up in her room, which was quite unexpected in many ways. There were frilly cushions, pink curtains, and loads of cute stuffed animals. The whole room had a very lovely feel to it. You have a cute room. Isn't everyone's room like this? Seeing my surprised expression, Catherine, too, seemed taken aback. It seemed she thought her room was pretty standard. I guess most are, but yours is on the cuter side. It wasn't meant in a bad way, but she seemed to have a reaction to the word cute and said, "Cute? I thought this was normal. Give me a break. This is my first time having someone over." Her face turned beet red with embarrassment. Seeing her like that made me wonder if maybe her regular clothes and underwear were on the cute side too. And my suspicions were confirmed. A quick glance revealed laundry with cute, frilly underwear hanging out to dry. She noticed too, and hastily shut the curtains. "You weren't supposed to see that." "Hey, that wasn't on purpose." With her face turning bright red, Catherine began playfully smacking me, and I had no defense. The next day, it turns out we ended up sleeping until noon. That's because, after our chat, Catherine suddenly wanted to watch a horror show she had come across. She was screaming out of fear, and we both were laughing and joking around. Turns out she wanted to watch horror shows, but was too scared to watch them alone. Shocking revelation. In fact, her DVR was full of unwatched horror shows she'd had recorded. Just one more, please. Just one more. Okay, last one. I promise. Like this, we ended up binge-watching almost 10 of the horror shows she'd had recorded. Even when I suggested we call it a night, Catherine was insatiable, and we continued until dawn. It's been a while since I had this much fun with someone. Maybe since I left my folks' house. Waking up in the afternoon, Catherine said that with a somber tone. Feeling for her, I suggested, why not go back home for a visit? From what I heard, aside from being work-focused and often neglecting Catherine, her dad was a pretty regular guy. Catherine looked down, saying, if I go back now, he'll probably just tell me to leave. Look, I might not get the whole parent-child dilemma because I don't have parents, but maybe. You should try talking to him. If he tells you to leave, then maybe it's time to really move on. But, if you don't talk, you won't even give other possibilities a chance. As I was leaving, I added, you're not my family, so stop preaching me. Catherine replied with a smile as she waved goodbye. She had a look of relief on her face, and that put my mind at ease. A few days later, after work, I decided to visit the park again. However, she was nowhere to be found. But under the usual bench where she sat, there was a note. Going to talk with my dad. Might not be able to come here for a while. When things settle down, I'll be back. Thanks, Bob. Honestly, it wasn't safe for a young woman to be sitting in a park at night anyway, so it was probably for the best. If she can reconcile with her family, then that's great. I thought that, but I still felt a bit lonely. A month later, that day was hectic at work. Someone made an entry error, and we received a massive amount of supplies. I was being blamed for the mistake by my boss. Yes, I placed an order for a set of supplies that arrived at the same time, but the bulk shipment was not my order. Yet my boss insisted, it must have been you. You're the one who always messes up and troubles everyone around here. It's true that I caused him trouble when I first joined the company, so I couldn't blame him for suspecting me. But he was clearly jumping to conclusions. No matter how much I defended myself, no one believed me. I even started thinking maybe I should just admit to it. The issue with the order was already confirmed to be a clerical error, right? Suddenly, I heard someone's voice. I looked up to see a beautiful woman I didn't recognize, but the voice. I knew that voice. Are you Catherine? Hey there, Bob. Long time no see. She had dyed her hair black, but it was definitely Catherine. Why was Catherine at my office? Then it clicked. A week ago, the president had mentioned his daughter would be joining as a secretary. She was still in training and was to be introduced formally later, but I never imagined that secretary was Catherine. I think it's not right to jump to conclusions just because you're suspicious. Besides, even if Bob, he may have made a typo. You're the one who does the final check, right? I think it's unfair to only blame Bob. Oh. Haha. Sorry about that, Bob. I jumped the gun there. When confronted by Catherine, the boss broke into a cold sweat and said, right, I had a business call to make, and hurriedly left. Thanks, Catherine. You really saved me there. No big deal. Anything for Bob. Hey, Catherine, don't just drop the formalities with your coworkers. That's when the president made an appearance. He explained the situation again, and it turned out Catherine was his daughter. My advice had apparently been the catalyst for them starting to mend their father-daughter relationship. Catherine's sudden departure had shocked him, but after she opened up about her feelings, it seems he was able to genuinely engage with her. Thank you, Bob. Thanks to you, I can spend time with my daughter again. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I haven't been much of a father to her. That's why I saw her in you. I realized what he meant. The words the president told me were meant for his daughter as well. Those words, in a roundabout way, reached Catherine through me. Thanks, Bob. Because of you, I'm not alone anymore. How many times have I told you not to drop the formalities at work? He is also your mentor. Here. Chiding Catherine, the president turned to me. Being a mentor is quite a responsibility. I'd like Catherine to take over the company someday. After she finishes her training as my assistant, I want her to work on the floor for 6 months. I'd like you to be her mentor, Bob. Can I count on you? Me? I wondered if I was up to the task, but the president believed that teaching others is a form of learning, and since Catherine was saying things like, I'm counting on you, Bob, I couldn't refuse. All right then. Looking forward to working with you, Catherine. I started hanging out with Catherine like this. Since we personally got along so well, we began going out for drinks together too. Before we knew it, we were dating and eventually got married, amidst the blessings of everyone. Having become her husband, I genuinely thought I should support Catherine, who was set to become the CEO. But then Catherine dropped a bombshell. Bob should become the CEO. I'm more suited to be a secretary. Suddenly, I was the candidate for CEO, getting all the know-how drilled into me by the current president, or should I say my father-in-law. Honestly, it's exhausting every day, but if I can repay the man who changed my life, it's a small price to pay. The president, or rather my father-in-law, always tells me with a big smile, I'm so glad you became my son-in-law, and he guides me rigorously. Time flies, and before I realized it, 5 years had passed. Even looking back, these 5 years flew by incredibly fast. I fully embraced the role of CEO. While I've gotten used to the work now, things are still hectic. And here's why. Hey James, wait for me. Nope, playtime. James sure loves to run around. You see, shortly after we got married, Catherine became pregnant. Now we're chasing after our lively 4-year-old son. Raising a kid is tough. I always admired those teachers and child care centers who could handle several kids at once. I'm struggling with just my own son. Next time, I'm racing against Daddy. Hold on just a moment. Come on, Daddy, you can do it. Catherine cheers me on as I'm panting hard. Over the past 5 years, Catherine has truly become a stunning woman. Her makeup has matured, and she's known as the beautiful mom at the daycare. Now Catherine is expecting our second child, so in her stead, I'm going all out entertaining our son. All right, break's over. Let's race, kiddo. Yay. I'm so happy right now. My adorable son, my beloved Catherine, and our unborn child, whom I'd get to meet. For these 3, I'd do anything. Once feeling so alone in the world, my family now is everything to me. I'm determined to make them the happiest they can be. That's the goal I've set for myself in life. But first, I've got to be a playmate for the little guy right in front of me. Waving to my son, I run around the park's grassy field with him. Kevin is my name. Emily and I have been wed for 2 years. We went on a date to the aquarium to celebrate her birthday on this particular day. But something unexpected happened on the way home. Wow, what a stunning woman. How old are you, young lady? Some men suddenly came up to us from the front and began to speak. Large tattoos covered the arms of both men, who looked tough and threatening. We chose to ignore them and continue going because we didn't want to start a fight. I'd assumed that if we left them alone, they would soon stop following us, but they persisted. Hey, pay attention to us. We know you can hear us, so hurry up. The black-haired man suddenly seized Emily's arm. When we had to halt, she expressed her annoyance. She said quickly, I'm sorry, but you're being really annoying. Will you please just go away from us already? Unfazed, Emily addressed the men with firmness. This had the reverse impact of what I had anticipated would settle them down. Oh, you're a feisty one. Isn't that right? Strong-willed ladies appeal greatly to me, and if they share your beauty, it's ideal. The way the men gazed at my wife made my skin crawl. Her rage was evidently intensifying with each second that went by. She said, "I'm married. I will not entertain men like you in any way." She showed them her wedding ring with her left hand. They didn't appear to be aware of our marriage. You're a married couple, really? That's correct. Have an issue with that? No, it's just amusing. How out of sync you two are. It's absurd. The guy next to her is far too boring, despite the fact that she is attractive. They are completely incompatible. Yes, without exaggeration. She must have truly made do with less, didn't she? The men started making fun of us while glancing between Emily and myself. My wife really is so gorgeous that she looks like she's much above me. However, I'm neither tall nor attractive. To be honest, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I'm grateful that I was able to marry her. I've always worried that people could think we're a strange or unfit pair. But as they persisted in disparaging me, Emily became even more irate. Since you don't know anything about my husband, why don't you stop making fun of him? You will never be as attractive as he is. He's not even on par with you guys, so forget about it. I was delighted by what she said. It was a blessing that she made even someone like me feel so cherished. The men, however, were unfazed. She is merely expressing that because her spouse is present. Indeed, it is more difficult to end a marriage than it is for a dating relationship. Or perhaps the wife is hiding something from her husband. How about we save you from him if that's the case? The men were heavily intoxicated. Their breath reeked of alcohol as they spoke, causing my wife to grimace. If you're that desperate to mess around with women, why don't you just go to a place that caters to that? Harassing a married woman like me is insane. We don't care if you're married or already have a man. If she's a good-looking woman, that's all that matters. You're strong-willed, gorgeous, and have a great figure. Exactly our type. Forget about your husband for tonight and come have fun with us. The man in sunglasses grabbed my wife's arm as he spoke. However, she forcefully pulled her arm away from him. Wow, the wife's got quite some strength. The man looked slightly surprised as his grip was broken. I could sense that Emily's anger was about to explode. Feeling the urgency of the situation, I decided to warn the men. Excuse me. Please don't make my wife angrier than she already is. If you keep this up, you'll regret it. But my warning fell on deaf ears. The two men looked down on me even more after I spoke. What's this? The nerd speaks up. Just hand over the lady quietly, and we'll be on our way. If it's money you want, we can give you some. The man with black hair pulled out some coins from his wallet and threw them at me. Hey, what do you think you're doing to my husband? I thought if I tossed some cash, he'd be willing to share his wife. I have no intention of handing my wife over to you. Please, I'm asking you to stop bothering us any further. I'd also prefer to avoid this turning into something bigger. What? Are you scared of us? No, it's not you I'm afraid of. When I answered in a low voice, the two men looked slightly annoyed. Come on, just admit it. You're scared of us. You're really trembling inside, aren't you? The man with black hair leaned in close to my face as he spoke. I was indeed scared of them, but there was something I feared even more. However, the man assumed I was cowering and began to threaten me physically, bringing his fist closer to me. If you let us have your wife, we won't lay a hand on you. Just lend her to us for tonight. If you refuse, you know what's going to happen, don't you? What's going to happen? You might just end up being our stress relief. We haven't had the chance to really cut loose and cause some chaos lately. Stop saying such ridiculous things. If you touch my husband, I won't let you get away with it. And what exactly can you do? Don't you realize we're gang members? The word gang made my wife react strongly. I had already suspected they were rough characters, but learning they were gang members genuinely shocked me as well. Are you guys really gang members? That's right. We're gang from the Great Dragon Gang Group. Great Dragon Gang Group, huh? My wife murmured softly. Hey, does the wife know about the Great Dragon Gang Group? Of course. They're a well-known gang in this area. Really? Looks like we've made a name for ourselves. The men, oblivious to the reality of the situation, spoke with smug satisfaction. Their confidence would only last for so long. However, after revealing they were part of a gang, they became even more arrogant. So, young lady, you'll be spending time with us tonight, right? Let's have a fun night together, baby. We'll cover the entire hotel bill, no problem. In return, you just need to give us the best service imaginable. With that, the men started to surround my wife and attempted to lead her away. I grabbed one of the men's arms tightly. Stop it, please. Hey, back off, you annoying pest. You're just a bystander, so stay out of this. I'm not a bystander. Emily is my wife. I'm not handing her over to anyone. Leave us alone. I shouted at them with all the courage I could muster. I was terrified, of course, but as a man, I felt I had to stand my ground. However, this only served to anger the men. One of them shook off my grip violently and delivered a hard punch straight to my face. You're in the way. The impact knocked me to the ground. Emily immediately rushed over to me. Kevin, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. With her help, I slowly got back on my feet. Then Emily turned to the men, her face contorted with rage, glaring at them like a demon. Call your bosses. Call every last one of them. I thought this was bad. However, the men showed no sense of danger whatsoever. They burst into laughter while looking at my wife. What's wrong with you, young lady? I've had enough of this. Just call your bosses already, will you? Or are you too low ranked to even contact them? What? Are you mocking us, young lady? Even we won't let you off the hook if you piss us off too much. It seemed these two couldn't stand being looked down on. Now, their anger was directed at Emily. However, she remained unfazed, standing firm without a hint of fear. There was a reason for her unshaken confidence. I'm not scared of the likes of you. Well, you really are tough. Huh. But you'd better stop provoking the gang, young lady. You might end up dead if you're not careful. That's my line. If you kneel and apologize to my husband right now, I might let you off the hook this time. If you're not willing to reflect on your actions, I have other ways to deal with you. When my wife said this, the men burst out laughing again. It was clear they completely underestimated us. And what would that be? Are you going to call the police? Calling the police would put us at a disadvantage too, so I won't be doing that. Instead, I'll send you to hell in another way. Really now? I'm curious what this hell of yours looks like. Go ahead, try to scare us. Fine. Just remember, you asked for this. I instinctively knew these two were finished. However, the men themselves still showed no sense of danger. Ignoring their arrogance, my wife took out her phone and began making a call. She finished her conversation after about 5 minutes. After hanging up, she turned to the men with a confident, almost wicked smile. Your hell is about to begin. Make sure you don't run away, okay? What? Who did you call? Someone you're very familiar with, I'm sure. You must be so low-ranking you didn't even recognize me. What the hell are you talking about? Just tell us who you called. The men repeatedly demanded to know who my wife had called, but she ignored them entirely. About 10 minutes later, a sleek black luxury car pulled up near us. From it emerged a man with an imposing presence, exuding an aura of danger. The moment the two men saw him, they froze as if time had stopped. Wait. Hold on. Is that They turned pale, their bravado completely shattered. The man walked toward them with measured steps. You the idiots who tried to mess with Emily from the Great Dragon Gang group, huh? Wait, please. Is your wife really acquainted with Mr. Yates, the leader of the Armstrong Gang group? Acquainted. This man is my dad. With that one sentence from my wife, the two men turned ghostly pale. You're seriously Mr. Yates's daughter? That's right. Emily is my daughter, no doubt about it. And you, as members of the Great Dragon Gang group, didn't know that. We're so sorry. We had no idea. Their earlier arrogance was completely gone, replaced by utter submissiveness. My father-in-law is the leader of the gang group known as the Armstrong Gang Group, and my wife is his daughter. Of course, I knew this when I decided to marry her. The moment the two men realized who my wife really was, their attitudes changed drastically. They dropped to their knees, bowing deeply. We're so sorry for our disrespect. Please, we beg you, keep this incident from reaching the president, Mr. Sullivan. Don't give me that crap. I went out of my way to come here myself. You think I'd let you off so easily? For now, you're coming back to our office. We'll have a nice long talk there, with my men. The men began trembling as my father-in-law addressed them with a stern expression. Well, why don't you get in my car now? The men, unable to resist, were forcibly ushered into the car. My wife and I also headed to the Armstrong Gang Group's office. When we arrived, all the members of the Armstrong Gang Group were present. It seemed my father-in-law had already informed them about the situation. The clan members directed piercing gazes at the two men, who had now become nothing more than objects of scorn. The men were like a sideshow attraction, completely humiliated. My father-in-law, with a smug grin on his face, approached the two men, who were forced to sit on their knees in the middle of the room. You two really had some bad luck messing with my daughter. When it comes to family, I show no mercy. Get ready for the delightful hell that awaits you. The two men were drenched in cold sweat. In a desperate attempt to seek forgiveness, they prostrated themselves before my father-in-law. We deeply regret harassing your daughter. Please let us resolve this peacefully. We'll pay whatever amount you ask for. Oh, you'll definitely be paying, my father-in-law replied. But before that, I think I'd like to have a word with your president, Mr. Sullivan. At the mention of Sullivan's name, the two men turned even paler. It was obvious they wanted to avoid involving Mr. Sullivan at all costs. Please, we beg you, don't involve Mr. Sullivan. Why not? Got something to hide? Actually, we caused some trouble not long ago, and were told that if we screwed up again, we'd be kicked out. We really can't afford to lose our jobs. The two men desperately begged for forgiveness. However, my father-in-law ignored their pleas and began making a phone call. The recipient was likely Mr. Sullivan of the Great Dragon Gang. The call ended in just a few minutes. Your president, Mr. Sullivan, agreed without hesitation to come over. He also said he's looking forward to having a thorough talk with you two. You're kidding me. This is the end. The men's faces were filled with despair. Not long after, Mr. Sullivan of the Great Dragon Gang arrived at the office. My father-in-law and Mr. Sullivan had a long-standing relationship, and I had met him a few times before. The moment the two men saw Mr. Sullivan, they lowered their heads and began trembling. Mr. Sullivan briskly approached them. Where they knelt, he spoke. We're sorry. We didn't realize she was the daughter of the Armstrong Gang Group's leader. That doesn't matter. The fact remains that you caused trouble for someone connected to the Armstrong Gang Group, doesn't it? Did you at least apologize properly? Yes, we did, but they wouldn't forgive us. Of course not. You tried to insult the family of someone as important as leader Mr. Yates. Mr. Sullivan then walked over to stand before Emily and me. He offered a sincere and respectful apology. I sincerely apologize for my idiots causing trouble during your outing, and on Name's birthday, no less. Of course, neither my wife nor I had any intention of blaming Mr. Sullivan. We were grateful to him for how well he had treated us as a couple, and we owed him a lot. Mr. Sullivan, please raise your head. The ones at fault here are these two. You don't need to worry about it. Of course, they will take full responsibility for their actions. Yes, I fully intend to punish these idiots, so don't worry. Afterward, Mr. Sullivan bowed to my father-in-law as well, apologizing for the trouble caused by his men. However, it was clear that my father-in-law hadn't summoned him to berate him. Once the formalities were over, Mr. Sullivan turned back to the two men, his expression icy cold as he addressed them. You're both fired as of today. Fired? The men's faces drained of color. And I'm not letting you off that easily. As punishment for causing trouble with the Armstrong gang group, you'll also pay a fine of $1 million. $1 million? We don't have that kind of money. That's insane. You already stole money from the group not long ago, didn't you? Before that, you extorted civilians and ended up drawing police attention. This $1 million includes compensation for all the trouble you've caused up until now. You two can work together and pay the fine to me. Got it? The men sat in stunned silence at the impossibly large amount. I admit we've caused trouble for the Great Dragon Gang group, but $1 million is just unrealistic, Mr. Sullivan. You know we don't have that kind of money. That's not my problem. What I say is final. This is absurd. It's your own fault, isn't it? If you complain any further, I can make it $2 million. Please, don't do that. The two were low-ranking gang members who had taken advantage of their status to commit countless misdeeds. It was clear that Mr. Sullivan was fed up with their behavior. In fact, it seemed he had already planned to fire them even before this incident. Realizing they were cornered, the two men tried to slip away when no one was looking. However, they were immediately subdued by my wife. Where do you think you're going? The men stared in shock at her strength. At this point, my father-in-law spoke up. Looks like we'll have to start by breaking that cocky attitude of yours. Trying to run away while we're watching. That takes some guts. We're sorry. It was just an impulse. For now, we'll fix your attitude ourselves. What are you going to do to us? What do you think? We're a gang, so it's got to be that. With that, my father-in-law gave orders to a nearby senior member. Beat them up for 30 minutes right here. Of course, he had the entire Armstrong gang group join in. The gang members nodded firmly in agreement. Meanwhile, the two men turned pale with fear. Please wait. We're sorry for trying to run. Just spare us from the violence. We beg you. Getting beaten by the entire Armstrong gang group would completely drain them. Scared of violence, even though you're gang, don't make me laugh. You've beaten plenty of people for no reason, haven't you? Think of this as payback on their behalf. Despite desperately begging for mercy, the two men were ignored by my father-in-law, who instructed the gang members to beat them up on the spot. Following his orders, the gang members began pummeling the two. By the time the promised 30 minutes had passed, the men were in a pitiful state. Their faces were swollen and red, their eyes half open. The two men were barely able to catch their breath. My father-in-law approached them with a smug grin. Have you learned your lesson yet? Sorry. Please, no more. We can't take it. The two men trembled violently as they looked at him. My father-in-law is a legendary gang leader known for having taken down numerous organizations in the past. If he were to hit them seriously, it could very well cost them their lives. It was clear that the two men were utterly terrified of him. Relax, he said. I don't waste my time with petty fights. I won't lay a hand on you myself. Instead, you'll pay for your sins with money. What on top of the $1 million demanded by Mr. Sullivan? I'm personally charging you $100,000 in damages. You don't have to pay it all at once. Just pay me $10,000 a month. $110,000 a month. The two men turned pale at the figure my father-in-law had presented. Then, the man with black hair hesitantly revealed something. Actually, we also have about $50,000 in debt to a loan shark. We're already drowning in repayments, so coming up with more money is impossible. So you're saying you can't pay the $1 million either? Yes. And why did you borrow money in the first place? The two men fell silent in response to my father-in-law's question. From their expressions, it was clear they didn't want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk, that's fine, but you'll still pay, no matter what. That includes the $1 million Mr. Sullivan is demanding. Wait, that much money will leave us in debt for the rest of our lives. Please, can't you reduce the amount somehow? The two men bowed deeply to my father-in-law and Mr. Sullivan, pleading for leniency. After a moment of silence, my wife offered a suggestion. Then how about this? If they can beat me in a challenge, the debt will be forgiven. If Dad and Mr. Sullivan agree, I wouldn't mind giving them a chance. That's an interesting idea, my father-in-law said. I have no problem with it, and honestly, I don't see Emily losing. Both my father-in-law and Mr. Sullivan quickly agreed to the proposal. The two men looked at them in shock. Are you serious? If we win, the debt is erased. Only if you win. So what do you say? Want to take on Emily in a challenge? We're fine with it being 2 against 1. I don't have even the slightest intention of losing to you two. In that case, the two men, oblivious to what was coming, suddenly brightened up. We'll take the challenge. Are you really okay with it being 2 against 1? I don't mind at all. Whether it's 1 or 2 of you, it doesn't make much difference to me. And so, the two agreed to a 2-on-1 challenge against my wife. They seemed confident that they could win. Since it'd be shameful for us to strike first, feel free to come at us, one of them taunted. It was clear they completely underestimated her. However, they were met with a single, powerful punch from my wife, which sent them sprawling to the ground. Despite getting up several times to fight back, not a single one of their punches landed, and they ultimately lost. Lying defeated, they stared at my wife in disbelief. How can you be that strong? There's no way you're just a normal woman. You shouldn't underestimate someone just because they're a woman, my wife said. Back in the day, I was called the legendary boss of an all-female biker gang. I was known for being unbeatable. Guys like you are nothing to me. A biker gang? Until she turned 20, my wife was the leader of a feared and infamous gang. During her time in the gang, she was highly respected and feared in that world. I met her after she had retired from that life, so I didn't know much about her past. Even today, the group she founded is remembered as one of the strongest ever. Learning the truth about her, the two men seemed to come to terms with their defeat and fell silent. My wife, however, wasn't done. You two punched my husband, didn't you? Don't you have something to say to him? We're sorry for hitting you earlier, they said, bowing their heads deeply to me. It's fine, really, I said. I'm not badly hurt or anything. As long as my wife is safe, that's all that mattered to me. But she wasn't satisfied with just an apology. Just bowing your head isn't enough. Get on your knees and show some real sincerity. Reluctantly, the two knelt on the floor and pressed their foreheads to the ground. I found myself unsure of what to say to them. Then my father-in-law spoke up. You lost to Emily, so as agreed, you'll still have to pay the money. Make sure you pay the full $1.1 million. The two men looked tearful at his words. We can't. Like we said earlier, we don't have that kind of money. After all this, couldn't you reduce the amount a little? Don't you dare try to talk your way out of this. You think I'll just say, fine, and let it slide? If you don't have the money, you'll start working to pay it off, starting tomorrow. Working? If you don't have the cash, then you'll have to earn it yourselves. No way. The two men stared at my father-in-law with frightened eyes, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. My father-in-law shot them a sinister grin. Don't worry, I'm not going to take your lives or anything drastic. The two men looked slightly relieved at my father-in-law's response. They had clearly been terrified that their lives might be taken on the spot. But instead, you'll be doing a job that comes with some serious risks. A job? What kind of job? Something every gang loves. Work at sea. You'll be catching tuna, and of course, I'll make sure you're well insured. The men's faces turned pale again. They clearly understood how dangerous sea work could be. Desperate, they bowed their heads repeatedly, begging for a way out, but my father-in-law ignored their pleas. The decision was final. The next day, the two were insured with high-value policies and sent off to a distant coastal town. They would work on a fishing vessel until they earned enough to pay off their debt to my father-in-law and Mr. Sullivan. However, working at sea is no joke. It's a life-threatening job. I'd heard that others from the Armstrong gang group had been sent to the boats as punishment, and some had gone missing within a month. While the job could earn them the money they owed, the danger was just as real. This, however, was the result of their own actions. I felt a tinge of pity, but ultimately, it was their own fault. Although the matter was settled for now, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. You look down. What's on your mind? I was just thinking. I wish I could be a more dependable, manly husband for you. The other day, you were the one who had to protect me. I felt like I wasn't cool enough. I hated feeling weak. Having a strong and amazing wife only made me feel that way even more. Kevin, you're already manly and cool, she said. You tried so hard to protect me the other day. It made me so happy. She said this with flushed cheeks and a warm smile. Her words lifted a heavy burden from my heart. Then, looking directly into my eyes, she continued, Kevin, you're perfect just the way you are. I love your kindness and the way you always care about others. Everyone has their own strengths, and you should focus on making yours shine. And for the record, I love you exactly as you are. In that moment, I felt deeply grateful to have married her. I vowed to dedicate myself to making my incredible wife as happy as she could possibly be.